Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the March 21st, 2023 Select Board meeting. May I have a roll call? Ms. Wertz, you are muted.
Good evening. Miss Judith Whiteside is in attendance. Mr. Alan Slavin is here. Mr. Jared Chadwick, and myself, Tricia Wertz. We have Mr. John Foster here as an attendee. We do not have, we have Mr. Sullivan here as well. We do not have Mr. Bowen here, nor do we have Ron Bessie here.
Thank you. May I have the Pledge of Allegiance, Mr. Foster, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which I stand, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Announcements. Mr. Chadwick.
Just a congratulations to the Vikings boys basketball team on their state championship Division IV win. And that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Slavin. You're muted, but I read your lips and you said nothing.
I said no.
Thank you. Ms. Wertz.
No, I do not have anything new this evening.
Thank you. And myself, I will pass on it for now. Mr. Foster is here. We are going to skip to item 7A, which is the discussion and possible vote to renew and or authorize the elementary school ban. Ban stands for bond anticipation notes. Mr. Foster, could you speak to the issue, please?
Sure. So the town has gone out. It's actually a ban renewal. It's the $2.6 million of general obligation bonds or bond anticipation notes that we issued last year. We have to renew those. We received 4 bids on the bonds. The sale date was the 15th of March. The low bid was Piper, Sandler and Company. Net interest costs of 3.1847. The net interest is $82,573.11. And we need to take a vote on those this evening to award the bid.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the members of my board? No. Okay. Ms. Wertz, I would ask that you read the vote of the select board, which begins I, the clerk.
I, the clerk of the Select Board of the Town of Wareham, Massachusetts, certified that at a meeting of the board held March 21st, 2023, of which meeting all members of the board were duly notified and at which a quorum was present, the following votes were unanimously passed, all of which appear upon the official record of the board in my custody, voted, we hereby determine in accordance with General Law, Chapter 70B, that the cost of the new Wareham Elementary School project authorized by a vote of the town passed on October 22nd, 2018, Article 5, being financed with proceeds of the notes defined below, together with all other bonds and notes of the town previously issued to pay costs of this project, does not exceed the portion of the total cost of the project that is not being paid by the school facilities grant, and we hereby approve the issuance of notes and bonds to finance the project under General Law, Chapter 70B. Further voted to approve the sale of $2,600,000 4% general obligation bond anticipation notes, the notes of the town dated April 6, 2023 and payable April 5th, 2024 to Piper Sandler and Company at par and accrued interest, if any, plus a premium of $21,138. Further voted in connection with the marketing and sale of the notes, the preparation and distribution of a notice of sale and preliminary official statement dated March 8th, 2023 and a final official statement dated March 15th, 2023, each in such form as may be approved by the town treasurer, be and hereby be ratified, confirmed, approved, and adopted. Further voted that the town treasurer and the select board be and hereby are authorized to execute and deliver a significant events disclosure undertaking in compliance with SEC Rule 15C2-12 in such form as may be approved by bond counsel to the town, which undertaking shall be incorporated by reference in the notes for the benefit of the holders of the notes from time to time. Further voted that we authorize and direct the town treasurer to establish post-issuance federal tax compliance procedures and continuing disclosure procedures in such forms as the town treasurer and bond council deem sufficient, or if such procedures are currently in place, to review and update such procedures in order to monitor and maintain the tax exempt status of the notes and to comply with relevant securities laws. Further voted that any certificates or documents related to the bonds collectively, the documents may be executed in several counterparts, each of which shall be regarded as an original and all of which shall constitute one and the same document. Delivery of any executed counterpart of a signature page to a document by electronic mail in a PDF file or by other electronic transmission shall be as effective as delivery of a manually executed counterpart signature page to such document. And electronic signatures on any of the documents shall be deemed original signatures for the purposes of the documents and all matters relating thereto having the same legal effect as original signatures. Further vote that each member of the select board, the town clerk, and the town treasurer be and hereby are authorized to take any and all such actions and execute and deliver such certificates, receipts, or other documents as may be determined by them or any of them to be necessary or convenient to carry into effect the provisions of the foregoing votes. I further certify that the votes were taken at a meeting open to the public and that no vote was taken by secret ballot, that a notice stating the place, date, time, and agenda for the meeting, which agenda included the adoption of the above votes, was filed with the town clerk and a copy thereof posted in a manner conspicuously visible to the public at all hours in or on the municipal building that the office of the town clerk is located, or if applicable, in accordance with an alternative method of notice prescribed or approved by the Attorney General as set forth in 94 CMR 29.3 2B, at least 48 hours, not including Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays prior to the time of the meeting, and remain so posted at the time of the meeting that no deliberations or decision in connection with the sale of the notes were taken in executive session, all in accordance with General Law, Chapter 30A, paragraphs 18 through 25 as amended.
Thank you. Now I will ask Mr. Slavin to make a motion to for affirmative on all of the votes that she read into the record so that we may vote on them.
Motion so made.
Is there a second to that, please? Mr. Chadwick,
Second.
motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion on his motion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
Ms. Wertz,
Yes,
and myself, yes. I further would like a motion, Mr. Slavin, to authorize the clerk to sign on this document on behalf of the Board of Selectmen. Select,
Motion so made as stated.
may I have a second, please? Motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion to authorize the clerk to sign? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
Schwartz,
yes,
myself, yes. Mr. Foster, does that do everything you need it to be done?
Perfect.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your help.
Okay,
And,
thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night. So Ms. Wertz, tomorrow you would go to the office and certify, sign the
Mhm.
documents. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, I'm gonna go to the renewal of the seasonal liquor licenses, Ms. Wertz. There are 4 there. I would accept a motion to renew all of them as listed on the agenda.
in a singular motion,
Yes, please.
okay. I make a motion to renew the seasonal liquor licenses under the provisions of Chapter 138 of Massachusetts General Law for the year of 2023 as follows. The common victular all alcoholic beverages license issued to Sterling Golf Management, DBA Little Harbor Golf Course. Point 2, Club all alcoholic beverages license issued to Point Independence Yacht Club, DBA Point Independence Yacht Club, 15 to 17 Independence Lane, Wareham. And that's a Scribner's note there. That should be Wareham, not Onset. Point 3, common victular all alcohol beverages license issued to Project Half Shell Inc., DBA Cohog Republic, 197 Onset Ave, Onset, Mass. And number 4, packaged goods store all alcohol beverages license issued to NAP Liquors, Inc., DBA The Jug Shop, 219 Main Street, Unit G, Wareham.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. For the record, I will note that all of the documentation for all of those has been reviewed not only by the office, but by myself. Any further discussion on the motion to approve? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
Ms. Wertz,
Yes,
myself, yes, 400. Thank you very much. We are having two hearings at 7:15 and 7:20. Mr. Patel, I would ask that you raise your hand, and Mr. Charalucci, if you are here, I would ask that you raise your hand. We will let you into the meeting not until the time of the hearings. We have to wait until those times. Ms. Wertz, I will accept a motion on item 6D, which is a seasonal liquor license extension. Paperwork is all in order.
so I make a motion that the seasonal liquor license extension request from NAP Liquors, Inc., DBA The Jug Shop, 219 Main Street, Unit G, Wareham, from December 1st, 2023 to January 15th, 2024.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions on the motion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
Ms. Wertz,
Yes,
myself, yes, thank you very much. Ms. Wertz, may I have a motion on the application from the Onset Bay Association, please?
that's Miss Cat Jones, correct?
ma'am.
Yes.
ma'am.
So I make a motion that we approve the application from Onset Bay Association to place signs on town property as listed in the attachment that they sent to us.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion?
No.
Thank you very much. I will go for a roll call vote, please. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
Ms. Wertz,
Yes,
myself, yes, 400. We've already done the ban. May I have 7D, a confirmatory vote to authorize the chair to send a letter of support regarding Damien's Pantry application for a grant under the Community Project Funding Program. I was asked about this the day before we had our last meeting. I had to bring it up under 24-hour business because the grant was due on Friday at 5 p.m. May I have a motion to confirm the vote and action taken? Ms. Wertz.
I make such motion, but I am still looking for it on our agenda. I know it's here. I
It's
just don't know what
7B.
number it is. 7B.
Yep. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to confirm the vote and the letter that was authorized. So any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will go for a vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
Ms. Wertz,
Yes,
myself, yes. And one more with Ms. Wertz, 7E, please, which is
Yeah.
to accept funds to the Wareham Free Library. May I have a motion?
make a motion to accept $30,000 from the Wareham Library Foundation, Inc. to be used for salaries of part-time employees at the library and if needed to cover utilities through the remainder of fiscal year 2023 and into 2024.
Thank you. And your
Second.
motion was to accept funds to the
To
library.
accept funds, yes.
Thank you. Is motion made and seconded? Any further discussion on the motion?
Just a
Hearing
quick,
Yes.
just a quick comment. I'd like to again thank the library. Library Foundation. Again, without their assistance, we would have a hard time continuing to be certified.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
Ms. Wertz,
Yes,
myself, yes, 400. Would Mr. White, would you let Mr. Charalucci in to the meeting, please? The reason we are reconvening this hearing is because I neglected to ask for public comment when we had the application for the renewal of the shellfish grant. I must now ask you to open the hearing in one more minute or to reconvene the hearing And then I will ask for comments from the public, either for or against the application, and then we will close the hearing. So it is now 7:15. Ms. Wertz, may I have a motion to reconvene the hearing?
I move to reconvene the hearing for application for a shellfish grant W-1 for Philip Chiralucci.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion made and second to reconvene the hearing. Any further discussion on the motion to reconvene? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
Ms. White,
Yes,
myself, yes. The hearing is now open. I will ask if there's anyone who would like to speak in favor of the application, please raise your hand so I may recognize you.
True.
Is there anyone who would like to speak against the application? I see none. May I have a motion to close the hearing, Ms. Wertz?
I make a motion to close this hearing. Go
Second.
ahead.
Motion made and seconded to close the hearing. Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
Ms. Wertz,
Yes,
and myself, yes, 400. Mr. Chiralucci, your license has been, or your grant has been approved. The documentation would be in the office for you to pick up. I apologize for making you come back.
No worries.
It was my mistake for not calling for the words for the public input at the time. Thank you very much. Say hello to your parents for me.
Will
Good
do.
night.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.
Night, Phil.
We have to wait until 7:20, so I will go to Mr. Evans, David Evans, would you raise your hand, please? I'm going to let you into the meeting, please, to speak to the EMS budget article, please. Mr. White, would you let Mr. Evans in, please? Good evening, Mr. Evans. I can see that you're here, but I can't hear you, nor can I see you.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Good.
Could you identify yourself for the record, sir?
I'm David Evans, the EMS Director.
Thank you. Could you speak to the article which is on our warrant for the EMS budget? Explain it for the public and just let us know what it means, sir.
Just trying to work my way through so you can see me.
Yeah, Madam Chair, one of the things is in the future, I think Mr. Evans just received a general notification to be at the meeting to
Okay.
discuss the article. I think it would be helpful to see. I think in this case, I mean, you guys know you've seen the budget. You go through some of them, stuff like that. I mean, year in, year out. Some of you are new. It might be good to we can explain while Dave's trying to get us stuff, that it's an offset receipt.
Right. So what I really meant for him to do this evening, Mr. Sullivan, was to explain what kind of an account it is, not the specifics of the account, because I know that you and your department heads are still working on your budgets.
Okay. The EMS budget is set up as an offset receipt account. That's authorized through Chapter 44, Section 53E of the Mass General Laws. And what that does, it takes estimated receipts from user fees for the department and uses the fees to operate the department. Anything in excess at the end of the year goes into the general fund as free cash or converted to free cash. Any deficit will have to be made up by the town through funds that they have available or through taxation the next fiscal year.
Thank you. Do either Ms. Wertz or Mr. Chadwick have any questions? Or Mr.
No.
Slavin, you do? Comments? Mr. Slavin?
Just one thing, and David, if you can't answer this now, just get back to us. Do you know what the status is with the firm we're using this time for billing versus collections? Has the percentage stayed the same? Has our collections increased or has decreased?
The collections have increased. There's been a slight increase in fees from Medicare and Mass Health, and most of the private, well, the similar type plans follow their lead. Increased call volume will increase the revenue. And but yeah, we're a little bit higher, and our percentage is high 80s, 90s per collection.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mr. Chadwick,
Just to talk, if it's okay, on I don't want to say on behalf of that, but that's all departments all through Massachusetts have gone up. And that's because, like Mr. Evans has said, Medicare and all that stuff is going up as well. Everyone's going up. So just an FYI for everybody watching and listening.
thank you. Are there any other questions or comments?
And,
Does that help
Madam
that our newbies understand? That's really what I was hoping we could do tonight, Mr. Sullivan. Go ahead.
And Madam Chair, I think one of the things I often get is, hey, you do all these runs. How come you're not making billions? You know, why aren't you buying the whole world out of it? Dave, I think I've got it here, but do you recall what percentage of our service runs are Medicare, Medicaid?
I think it's in the like 93%.
About 93%.
That's the demographics of town of Wareham. If we and those, I'm just going to round numbers. If you bill $1,000, Medicare says that's a $400 call, and they pay 80% of that. And Mass Health is even less. So if we have private pay, we usually get 100% of that bill, like Blue Cross Blue Shield or Harvard Pilgrim, the private pays, and auto insurance. I mean, they get cut way back. You can't bill that, so that has to be written off.
And this is a community service. We can't pull up and ask them for their private insurance and decide whether we're going to do the perform the service or not. So,
Yes.
And we only get revenue if we transport. We can respond to a call and assist somebody, but we don't get to bill for that.
Which
Mr.
happens quite a
That's really very helpful, I think, for the general public as well as this board to understand some of the issues that surround emergency services in a town such as Wareham, and I appreciate that you've explained it. Mr. Chadwick, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. Can you say what you just said again? I might get yelled at for this. What type of services is this?
Emergency services.
Emergency services. Okay, just wanted to clarify that for a lot of people.
Okay,
I think I understand what you're getting at with that.
Yep,
And I'll
it's
tell
all
you, good. What we get out of the what we get from Mr. Evans and his staff is what I think is a far better service than if you had a private service. And
100% agree.
yeah, this is one of the things Mr. Evans has worked to build it from a one truck rust bucket operation to having 2 ambulances working full time for the town, a third one that's just in case another goes down. And I'll tell you, he's done a hell of a job bringing this department forward. So I appreciate everything he's done and his staff as well.
thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Evans.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you very much. Ms.
All right, have a good night.
Yeah, you as well, David. Mr. White, would you let Mr. Patel and Ms. Farnsworth into the meeting, please? This is a reconvened hearing. Ms. Wertz, may I have a motion to reconvene the hearing of Pangat?
Do we want to make a move to recommend favorable action on the last
No.
word? No,
No.
we're okay with that. Okay. Let me-
So Mr. Patel and Ms. Yep. And
I was doing really well to not keep the paperwork straight until this point. So let me look at my agenda. I make the motion that we reconvene the hearing for the application of Pankaj Corp. DBA PK Liquors, 3074 Cranberry Ave, East Wareham, for a seasonal packaged goods store, all alcoholic license under the provisions of Chapter 138 of the Mass General Laws for the year 2023.
Thank you. May I have a second to the motion?
That's Cranberry Highway.
I'm sorry?
I second it, but it's Cranberry Highway, not Cranberry Ave.
Yeah, Cranberry Highway. Motion made and seconded to reconvene the hearing. Is any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
Ms. Wertz,
Yes,
myself, yes. The meeting is reconvened. The only reason I need to reconvene this hearing is because when we originally had the hearing, I neglected to ask for the public's input. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the application? Please raise your hand so I may recognize you. Is there anyone here who would choose to speak against this application? Please raise your hand so I may recognize you. Seeing none, I will ask that the board make a motion to close the hearing, please.
I make a motion to close the hearing on this for,
Hold on,
Hold on, do you have a
Ms. White
question?
said-
Mr.
Yeah,
Jarrett, hand up.
just-
Sorry, I didn't see you.
No, that's fine. One question for Mr. Patel. Any relation to the Patel family that just bought Dennis Public Market in Dennis?
No, sir.
All right, thank you.
I have a motion to close the hearing. I'm going to go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin, to close
Yes.
the hearing. Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
Ms. Wertz,
yes,
and myself, yes, the hearing is closed. May I have a motion, Ms. Wertz, to approve the application?
I make a motion that we approve the application for Pankaj Corp. DBA PK Liquors, 3074 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, for a seasonal packaged goods store, all alcoholic license under the provisions of Chapter 138 of the Mass General Law for the year 2023.
Second,
Motion made and seconded to approve. Is there any further discussion on the motion to approve? Seeing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
Ms. Wertz,
Yes,
myself, yes, it is granted. Your paperwork will be in the office, Mr. Patel, and I apologize for the inconvenience. Good night.
No problem. Thank
Thank
you
you
very
very
much.
much. I would ask Mr. White, or I would ask Mr. Forget, is that how you pronounce your name? I'm sorry if I butchered it. Mr. Fitchenmeyer and Mr. Camerano, if you were here, please raise your hand so that I may let you into the meeting. Mr. White, Mr. Forget, I guess. This is the presentation for the Upper Cape Regional Technical School Budget article, which is an annual separate article on our town meeting warrant. Good evening, sir. Could you identify yourself for the record?
Good evening, Madam Chair. I am Roger Forget, Superintendent at Upper Cape Tech. And good evening to all of the selectmen members.
Madam Chair, before we move on, if WCTV could just enable screen sharing, that'd be helpful. I'm going to try and get the PowerPoint up for Mr. Forget.
Thank you. I don't know who, I have a hand raised.
That's me.
No, there's another one, GC. I don't know who that is. Do you have somebody coming with you, Mr. Forget?
I do not. And it's forget. I answer to all of the above, so it is fine.
I apologize. I'm guessing it's a French Canadian name and I apologize for butchering it.
It is, and if you were French, you would say Forget. My father being the joker that he is, my middle initial is D, so it's Roger doesn't forget.
Yeah, well, having spent a lot of time in New Bedford, I probably should know how to pronounce your name. So I apologize. I would call you Forget.
No worries. None
Go ahead.
whatsoever.
Do your presentation, sir.
All right, thank you. Mr. Sullivan, will you be the one that will be moving the slides? Or-
Yes, sir. I'll
All right.
try and keep up with you.
All right, we can go right away to our first slide.
Okay. Let's see if it will let, there we go.
Perfect. So good evening. Our budget subcommittee for Upper Cape Tech is made up of our chairperson, Robert Fitchemeyer from the town of Wareham, Michael Deegan, our treasurer from Sandwich, Dominic Camarano from Wareham, and Mary Ann Smith from Falmouth. Our next slide. This slide shows some of our all 15 of our programs on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side shows our cooperative employment. And for the school year 2021, 2022, 64% of our seniors were employed in cooperative employment. 36% of our juniors were participating in cooperative employment. Juniors can only begin to participate midway through their junior year. Of both classes, their total earnings were $1,138,555 for the school year 21-22. Next slide. And for all members, as we're going through, if you have a question, please go right ahead and ask. This slide.
We're going to wait for the end, Mr. Forget. I'm sorry.
Okay. No,
Go
that's
ahead.
fine.
Yeah.
That is fine. This slide shows a sampling of our co-op employment along with our students. Next slide. Here we have a slide showing our post-secondary plans as well as our college selection. So currently we have 46% of our graduates attending post-secondary institutions. Those institutions include Johnson & Wales, WYO Tech, Ohio Diesel, as well as some of the colleges that are on the right-hand side of the screen. 49% of our graduates go directly into the workforce, with 5% of our graduates enlisting in military service. Next slide. What we have here in front of you, the FY21 operating assessment, is the assessment at Upper Cape Tech to educate a high school student. The column on the right is the FY Department of Elementary and Secondary Education per pupil cost by school, and that is by high school. So in the town of Bourne, it would cost $17,732 to educate a student. To the town, it would be $20,162. Let's jump right down to Wareham. In the town of Wareham, it costs $21,824. And at Upper Cape Tech, the cost is $14,200. As you can see by all of the figures on the left, it is Upper Cape Tech is a bargain every day of the week for all 5 of our towns. Next slide. Our enrollment by region, and this shows our current FY24 enrollment. You can see the increase from FY23, and that is again by town. The town of Wareham, for instance, has an increase of 9 students from 229 to 238. Next slide. Minimum contribution. So this year's minimum contribution for the town of Wareham has increased $158,096 over the FY23. Our next slide. Some of the budget drivers that we have in our presentation this year's contractual obligations. Our teachers are receiving a 2.25% increase to their salaries. Health insurance increase. We belong to Cape Cod Municipal Health Group. Their increase this year is 4%. The vocational supply cost, as we know, the cost of eggs, the cost of 2x4s, of all supplies have gone up tremendously. And the social and emotional services provided to our students post-COVID. Next slide. I included this slide to show you that the teaching staff at Upper Cape Tech comes to Upper Cape and really does not leave. We have very little attrition. And by that, I'm showing you that the column on the right is the number of years at Upper Cape Tech, 13 being the bottom step. If you're there 14, 15 or beyond, you stay at that step. And the levels coming across the top indicate your levels of education as you're moving through the system. Nearly half of the teachers have been at Upper Cape Tech 13 years or longer. Next slide. This begins our budget presentation for FY24. This year, you'll see that there's a school committee increase and again, a slight increase. that is a contractual increase as well as the cost of supplies. The superintendent's office, again, in my office, is for contractual increases as well as supplies. Our business and finance, again, is contractual increases as well as the technology increases and supplies. Next slide. Our school leadership, which makes up our school principal and all of our administration, those are contractual increases as well as the cost of supplies for their offices. Curriculum and department heads or department leaders, again, is contractual increases as well as supplies. And our teaching line item, which, as I mentioned to you earlier, is 2.25%. That's that increase, as well as the additional one academic teacher and one vocational teacher. Next slide. Our professional development has increased just slightly over last year. Our instructional materials, again, we are up. That's a $35,000 increase. And I mentioned earlier the vocational supplies with 15 shops, $35,000 breaks out to just slightly over $2,000 per shop area. And again, at the cost of a dozen eggs, the cost of a 2x4, copper, and all of the other essentials for all of our shops, it's not hard to see how that increase is eaten up and comes forward. Our instructional technology, again, represents a slight increase, contractual as well as in supplies. Next slide. Our guidance, you'll see that we have a decrease. Originally, we had 4 school counselors. One had an opportunity to move into an administrative position at one of our sister schools, and we support that for our members. And we had a retirement. We only backfilled with 1 individual, so we went from 4 to 3, and that shows the decrease in that line item, the savings. Psychological services, you'll see that that has a large increase. Last year, I was able to put that into our ESSER funds. This year, that indicates and represents a full-time position. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the social emotional needs of our students, as well as the families post-COVID, is something that all schools across the Commonwealth are dealing with and have not seen prior to COVID. Next slide. Our medical and health services, this line item is our school nurse with a ratio of 800 to 1. We felt that it was time to put in a half-time position to assist our school nurse, and that line item represents that half-time, that 0.5 position to that line item. Athletics, coaching officials, again, contractual increases as well as athletic supplies. Our student activities, we felt we could keep constant as we're cognizant of the cost to our sending towns and where we can be very frugal, we're going to be. And I kept that constant and stagnant. Our school security has an increase of roughly about $47,000. As I'm sure many of you have read or saw in the news, the Born Patrolman Union increased their detail cost to $60 an hour and a 4-hour minimum. That represents a 4-hour minimum detail at the bottom of the hill in the afternoon alone. And at the $60 an hour, we had to bring that in. So next slide. Our custodial services, again, are contractual increases as well as the cost of supplies. Our heating and utilities. 2 years ago, I made mention to the fact that we purchased high efficiency boilers and changed out our boilers, our heating system at the school. We also brought in and have had our solar array. This has been a mild winter, so I see no need to increase that line item and keep that constant. Again, I'm cognizant of what we spend and the cost to our sending towns. Maintenance of our grounds, again, contractual increase as well as the cost of supplies. Mr. Sullivan? Maintenance of buildings, again, those are contractual increases as well as the cost of supplies. And the maintenance of equipment, as we all know, if you're having something refurbished, fixed, or any kind of work done on it, that represents a slight increase in the cost of maintaining our equipment. Next slide. Our employee benefits, early on, one of the drivers was our insurance and a 4% increase. This increase here represents that 4%, as well as our young families moving from a single plan to a family plan. Our insurance programs, building and liability, student insurance, again, the cost of doing business and the cost increase sent to us. Programs with others, that school choice, Upper Cape Tech does not participate in school choice, but the Department of Revenue, if they had a student, for instance, from Wareham or from Bourne, that was going to a Chapter 74 program in, let's say, Falmouth, they would run that amount through our budget. It runs in and runs out. That represents 4 students. Our total foundation budget, $17,880,068. Next slide. Taking that total foundation budget and subtracting our Chapter 78, if we have an increase in our aid this year, again, not as high as the inner cities because we are a suburban area. We are seeing less of an increase in our Chapter 78. But this year's aid is $4,451,242. Our anticipated interest revenue of $30,000. Our anticipated municipal Medicaid of $10,000. And our excess and deficiency that we applied, and that was applied by our school committee of $500,000, gives us a total of $4,991,242. Excuse me, $4,991,242. Quite a mouthful. Net that taken from our total foundation gives us a net foundation budget of $12,888,826, which represents a 3.95% increase for our FY24. Mr. Sullivan? Our transportation provided by the district is $332,624. Our contract transportation, $1,157,000. There's an increase of 1 route on that transportation line. Total transportation, $1,489,624. Our anticipated transportation aid, which comes directly from the cherry sheet, the Governor's House 1, $879,921, leaves us with a net transportation of $609,703. Our LPN program at the school, we have a cost of $765,396. Our anticipated LPN tuitions of $782,250 leaves us with a profit of $16,854. That subtracted from our net transportation gives us a combined net transportation and LPN of $592,849. Next slide. Our capital this year remains the same, stagnant at $130,000. Again, we're being very cognizant and frugal about what it is we spend and what it is we buy. Our stabilization fund, like last year, is staying exactly the same of $175,000. With this payment put in, that will give us almost $1 million in our stabilization fund, which is being put aside for our roof repair. Our current roof is 25 years old and it's a 20-year roof. That's an inverted percentage looking at it. We maintain our roof and we're very careful with it, but I wish it were the other way around, a 20-year roof with a 25-year lifespan. We are still waiting for MSBA. They suspended the acceleration program, and so we're looking for the core program to get into the queue to have our roof repaired. When we do, we will already have $1 million to put against that amount. Our feasibility study told us that the roof repair should run somewhere between $7 to $10 million. This gives us a total capital of $305,000. Next slide. Every good presentation has a pie chart, and I would be remiss not to have one as well. This shows us exactly where our money is being spent on our students and at our school at Upper Cape Tech. 61% is going directly to instruction. 20% to fixed charges, 10% to operations and maintenance, 4.2% to student services, and 4.69% to administration. Next slide. We have our enrollment and our percentages of our operating budget. With 238 students, an increase over last year. Wareham's percentage is 0.30013. Next slide. Capital is calculated differently than the operating budget. That is based on the total number of students within the town. You'll see that the town of Wareham has actually gone down in the total number of students. And so the percentage has gone down of your portion of the capital to 0.20045. Next slide. We want to thank you for your support and continued support with pictures of all of our students at all different activities throughout Upper Cape Tech. Thank you so much. Madam Chair, questions?
Mr. Forget, before I let my members ask questions, I have to tell you, that's one of the best budget presentations I've seen in a very long time. Thank you very, very much. I think it was informative and it was easy to understand. And I would ask that tomorrow or tonight that you send it to our office so that we can include it in our minutes for the meeting.
Absolutely. I've actually already sent it to your town administrator,
Okay.
Mr. Sullivan, who has it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any one of my members have questioned? Mr. Chadwick, you were first, and then Mr. Slavin.
Received. Thank you. Mr. Forget, I had the pleasure of walking through your school with my 8th grader. I think it was this year. And I just want to say you are doing a wonderful job up there. And I think it might have been one of the electrical teachers. I guess he's been there for a very long time. Very nice guy. It was fun. It was fun even for adults. And your culinary program made me really fat. So thank you.
Mr. Chadwick, thank you very, very much. Yes, there's a reason I started at 110 pounds when I started at Upper Cape Tech, and I've continued to expand, Mr. Slavin.
Very good food.
Yeah, the kids and the students do an outstanding job. They really do. And I'm very, very proud of our students and our staff. I'm very blessed with what we have.
Yeah, the bananas Foster that you guys had, I probably went back like 4 or 5 times. So,
Mr. Chadwick, oh my goodness. Mr. Slavin?
Good evening. I'm always amazed at how the tech school comes in so far under cost per student than the town does. We probably should hire you guys to handle our roofs also. Another sore spot in the town right now. When I was looking at one of the items, the E&D, is that the same as what we deal with free cash?
It's on the same principle, yes. It's excess and deficiency. As a regional school district operating like a municipality, we are allowed to keep 5% of our operating of the budget in E&D for any type of catastrophe that we may have for the school committee to use. In doing so, they have the ability to also use some of that money to put against the budget to help and lessen some of the burden on our towns.
So you're hoping that the MSBA program covers a substantial portion of your roof?
So MSBA right now, based off of our window project from, as many of you will remember, about 15 years ago now, 12 years ago, we were at 38% reimbursement. So in looking at that, that's why we started that stabilization fund to have that, as well as the 38% reimbursement to put towards that project, hopefully lessening the bond amount to all of our towns.
Do you intend to put the bond out for 10 or 20 years on that?
Yes, we're going to look for the best rate and definitely to put that out.
Right, we obviously have to take that into effect on our, Mr. Sullivan on his costs, no problem there. And the other thing.
Running through MSBA, sir, they'll give the towns plenty of notice ahead of time, and I continue to put it as part of my budget presentation. Again, in an effort to be very transparent so that as we're planning, you know it's coming down the pike And you're not surprised. I don't want any surprises living in district. I don't want any surprises in my town. I don't want anyone else to have it in theirs.
No, the school's done a great job with that as far as the 5 supporting towns. The last question I have, which always for me is interesting, do you know how many students apply from Wareham and how many are accepted?
So I can't give you the exact number. I can forward that to Mr. Sullivan, so you have it and he can share it with you. I don't have it on my fingertips. I can tell you that we have about 130 students on our wait list. My principal, Mr. Greeley, continues to increase the number of students coming because he wants to have and provide that opportunity to students. Shortly, I'm going to use his office as a classroom. If he continues to expand beyond the point of having classroom space. If I could, I would really like to avail ourselves to all students that would like a vocational technical education and that could benefit from it. And I'm doing everything within my power to reach out, even in their senior years, to the towns, to have seniors who have decided to not go on to college and really don't have a pathway to follow, to come back to Upper Cape. And we're running some career and tech institutes in the evening that they could go into particular areas.
Thank you. I know in Wareham, we have, from what I can see, a fairly substantial number of our students really should be in a tech school program. So whatever you can do, we would appreciate it. And again, thanks for the job you guys do. It's refreshing to come back every year and to see the costs controlled as much as it is. Thank you.
I really appreciate that, sir. I invite everywhere that I go, so I will, through Madam Chair, invite the select board, if you would like to come to visit, to take a tour of the school. Again, I am so proud of it. I'd be happy to have you come. And certainly, Mr. Chadwick, stay for lunch.
That's where it was going. That was my next question.
Yeah, we just need you to send the lunch menu ahead of time.
Yeah. Ms. Wertz, do you have any, Ms. Wertz?
I have a comment more than a question. So I do not come out of town government or school background. I come out of corporate background. So some of the things you do, I don't understand why or how, but I take your word for it. I agree with Ms. Whiteside. This is the best presentation I've seen, I think, since I became a selectman. I also, the person who I'm involved with in terms of my technology work at home has a substantial business down in the Sandwich area, and he swears by your students. He in that particular field, he said, just use them. They're great. So I take his compliment about what you do really to heart, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate that. And I will bring that back to the school because I do share the comments that I glean from all of the meetings with staff. I want them to know what's being said in the community and what I'm hearing. So that's great. And I really appreciate that. I truly hope as a board, you can convince Mr. Sullivan to bring you all together, pick a day, and I would love to give you a tour to really see what's happening, what's going on at Upper Cape, what's new, and stay for lunch.
Thank you. Mr. Forget, I have a couple of questions and comments. First of all, the record should show that Mr. Camerano is here. I guess that's who GC is. So could you go back to your total, can I have the slide back that shows the cost per student?
Certainly.
Please, I'm sorry. And then the other thing is, what is your overall percentage increase from last year to the for the budget request? The total percentage
By town or in
No.
totality?
in total.
0.6 something.
It was under 4%, I thought.
I thought it was too, but I just want to.
Is it 3 point?
3.95.
Yeah, 3.9.
Correct. 3.95 is the total percent increase over last year. Last year's net foundation was 12,379,971, and this year's is 12,888,826, representing a 3.95% increase.
Thank you. And did one, Mr. Sullivan or Mr. Forget, did you find that per student per town slide? Do you know the one I'm talking about? Yes, that one. Yep. Okay, what are the red figures on that?
What are the red figures?
Yeah, that you have you have people figures and 3 of them are in red.
Yes, they are just additional students and what
Okay.
it looks like. It was just more for a visual
Okay,
aspect.
okay, great, thanks. That was the only confusion I had. Again, from my perspective, I have been toured the school a couple of times. It is the best lunch that I've had in a long time. And the dessert was fabulous. And Miss Wertz is aware that I like desserts first. Anyway, thank you very, very much. Appreciate the information that you've given us, as well as the presentation being very professional. Appreciate it. Mr. Sullivan?
Madam Chair, yeah, before we schedule anything, I would just like to go for lunch separately, so there's some dessert left from Mr. Chadwick, so.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea for all 5 of us to go together, because Chadwick can out eat all of us, I'm pretty sure, but I'm going to fight him for the desserts. So anyway,
Yep.
Mr. Forget, thank you very much and appreciate it. And Mr. Camerano, thank you for being here with us this evening. Good
And
night.
on a serious note, before I leave,
Yeah.
the Superintendent Forget has been very good to us. Whenever I've requested something, he's looked into it immediately. And, you know, there's always some projects happening around town. The kids are giving back in the school as well to the community. So we greatly appreciate that.
Excellent. Oh, you know, that's actually a question. From time to time, different groups need some help, you know, building a bird feeder or, you know, whatever it is. And the work program, I know that in the past years that the school has provided students to help build, I don't know, picket fences or something. Do you still do that? And is there a sign up, and how do entities ask for your help in doing stuff?
Certainly, and absolutely, we still do that. I would ask that particular group have a 50c3 or be nonprofit. We work for all of our municipalities, but a nonprofit agency by all means. We are happy to help. I think it's an important piece of what we do in our 5 sending towns, because it builds that citizenship, that sense of ownership in our students in working within their community, that they can point to that and say, I did that when I was at Upper Cape Tech. We gave back and we did this. So of all 15 of our shops, that aspect is an important piece of it. If you had a pet, you could certainly come into the vet science with a canine or a feline. There are many different services that they provide. Your automotive, your vehicle to the automotive shop or the auto collision shop. Our construction shops, and as well as our horticulture, are always out and about in our towns trying to help out and give back. So you can contact me, you can email me. I will usually send it, depending on which particular vocational area, to Nolan Leroy, who is our voc director, or it may go to our principal, Mr. Josh Greeley, to actually have them call back. Let's find out a little bit more of what's going on and how we can help, a timeline and what it is they're looking for. So we're happy to do that. It also comes from your town administrator, which whenever Mr. Sullivan calls, I am happy to make that accommodation and get our students out to help out.
Great, thank you so much.
You're
Anything
very,
else,
very
ladies
welcome.
and gentlemen? Mr. Forget, oh, Alan, one more?
I've got a fork, a knife, and plate, so doesn't Jared. We'll be over.
Mr. Forget, sometimes these gentlemen don't behave like it's a business meeting, but you'll have to forgive them. They're boys.
Madam Chair, I relish the time and their antics here. It makes for very light humor, and it really brings about the fact that we're invested in the community, and and, their affection for the school. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the opportunity to present to you. And again, I look forward to having all of you together. There'll be plenty of dessert to give you a tour.
Never enough.
Thank you, Mr. Farshad. Good evening. Thank you, Mr.
Have
Camerano.
have a great night. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good evening to the select board.
Thank you, Dominic. Ms. Wertz, may I have the motion for 7H, which is to approve the ABCC seasonal renewal certification. This is a form that we fill out every year. The office prepares it. It is required, and you've seen, you have the document in front of you. So
So I make a motion that we approve the ABCC seasonal renewal certification for 2023. Now, I have a question. I should have made that first. The
okay,
form-
wait, let me just get a second on it first.
Second,
Okay, motion made and seconded. Yes, Ms. Wertz.
My question is I have a form in front of me, seasonal licenses who failed to renew for the upcoming year. I don't have anything other than that. Is that the only paper that goes along with this?
Yes, yes, because,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Yep. Any further discussion or questions? None. Go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
yes,
Ms. Wertz,
yes,
myself, yes, it is done. May we go to 7G? You have before you two policies. One is a policy about social media use, and the other is about email communication policy for committee members. These policies really are based on the policies that town employees must have. We previously had, we being the select board, had these policies. They've been renewed, they've been rewritten and updated to comply with the law. So if there's no further discussion, I would ask for a motion to approve both of them. Mr. Slavin, you have a question?
No question, just a statement that the public needs to know that even though we're all volunteers per se, not getting paid, we are employees of the town and we have to follow the same rules as a paid employee.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Wertz, I'd accept a motion to approve both of those policies.
I make a motion that we approve to adopt the social media policy and the email communication policy for committee members.
Your second to the motion.
second,
You made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
yes,
Ms. Wertz,
Yes,
and myself, yes, 400, they are approved. I believe we now have discussion and possible vote to recommend action on articles for the 2023 annual spring town meeting. So Ms. Wertz, let's see what we can knock off tonight. Having heard the presentation from Mr. Forget, would you like to move a recommendation on Article 9, which is the Upper Cape Regional Tech School budget?
I move to recommend favorable action on Article 9, Upper Cape Cod Regional High School budget.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
yes,
Ms. Wertz,
Yes,
and myself, yes, thank you. We did the harbor, we've talked about Article 16 with Mr. Buckminster. May I have a motion to recommend favorable action on that?
I move to recommend favorable action on Article 16, Harbor Services Permit Receipts Reserved for Appropriations Account.
Is there a second to that motion?
second,
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
yes,
Ms. Wertz,
Yes,
myself, yes. No. That leaves. Mr. Sullivan, are there any of the ones in the top 8 that we can? I guess we can we can do favorable action on item 1. It really is it's a no-brainer. May I have a motion for favorable action.
I
Which
move
is the
to,
election of office. Yeah, go ahead.
I move to recommend favorable action on Article 1, election of officers.
Second,
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
yes.
Chadwick,
Yes.
Swartz,
Yes,
myself, yes, 400. Mr. Sullivan, any of the others that we should be able to do at the time? I guess we could do favorable action on item 4, which is to hear occasional reports. Ms. Wertz?
that's 5. Occasional reports is
Yes,
5.
I'm sorry, 5. Yeah.
So I move to recommend favorable action on Article 5, occasional reports.
I'll second that, but I have a question. What are the occasional reports?
Usually they're planning. And from time to time, if a committee has been set up to do something, they bring those reports back. But there's always planning in there.
Okay. And anyone else come forth unless they're been required to do so, that it doesn't happen then?
That's up to the moderator, I
Okay,
believe. Okay,
just a
Yeah.
question. Thank you.
you're welcome. Any further discussion? May I have a roll call vote, please? Mr. Slavin,
Yes,
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
Ms. Wertz,
Yes,
and myself, yes, 400. I know that we're still waiting for all of the other information. Mr. Evans did explain the concept of the EMS budget. Mr. Sullivan, would you have an objection if we recommended favorable action on item 8, which was the EMS budget? You're muted.
The 1 second was, I'm trying to get back to the screen to unmute
okay.
myself.
Okay,
No, I think you should wait till you have the numbers in front of you.
Okay.
They've gone before the finance committee, but I think you should have in front of you. Did you do the compensation of certain elected officials yet?
no,
That's, I think, I'm trying to remember the number. I thought it was 110 we're doing, but I would think 120 is in line. It's usually they get paid per meeting, and it's just the moderator.
yes, that's correct. So presume that the meeting goes.
One,
What? Yeah, one night. Good luck. What was the amount, sir?
I think it would be, I think it should be 120. I was trying to find the old warrant article real quick.
Yeah, I think it's about that. May I have a motion for favorable action? If we need to come back next week because that figure is inaccurate, that we can do that. Ms. Wertz, may I have a motion for favorable action on Article 3?
I make a motion that we vote for favorable reaction on Article 3, compensation of certain elected and appointed officials.
So your motion was to recommend favorable action.
Favorable action, yes.
Thank you thank you. Is there a second? Yeah. Any further discussion on that motion for favorable action? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
yes.
Mr. Chadwick,
Yes.
Ms. Wertz,
Yes,
myself, yes, 400. I do not want to discuss item 20, which is the terminate the contract with the sewer unless I have a full board present. I don't think it's fair to not ask all 5 of us to voice our opinions, although I can assure you that many people have heard some of our private opinions. Is there anything else that you think that we can take care of on that grid tonight? No.
can we take care of 21?
We did.
We already did that one, so
Yes, ma'am.
we're pretty good.
Okay, so let's, I don't have any 48-hour business, and let's move on to the town administrator's report. Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to echo something that Select Board Member Chadwick said earlier. I'd like to really congratulate the boys basketball team. I played sports in high school, and the closest I ever sniffed to getting into the championships was we just missed the playoffs playing football by about that much. And it's one of the most heartbreaking things. So the feeling these guys are feeling right now, it's got to be incredible. I just want to thank them for representing the town, doing an amazing job, their hard work, being the student athletes, because, you know, if you're not doing your work, you're not out there as well on the ball, on the court. So thank them. What a great job. And everybody that was able to go up and take and, you know, see it. And then coming back home, I know between Fire, Wareham PD, and all the others, they came back to have sort of the mini parade. And it's just what a great community we're part of. So really awesome job, folks, their coaches, their families, everybody that went in supporting them, those that cheer for them. Great, really great job. So moving on, something I just want to go over is, all right. So something popped up in Wareham week about the library, and it was a little, you know, so it is, to quote Belichick as saying I played football before, it is what it is. I just want to get some information out and some update on the main library. And the main thing is that we are still trying to establish the timeline that the main branch will be closed to the public. So I think everybody knows at this point that there was a leak inside caused from an external source. So what happens when there's a leak? Well, immediately we had a company in there to take care of everything, to basically dry it out, pull off boards, go through. Then you have the insurance adjuster going through. And we're going to get there's some new carpeting that's going to be done in a large section of the library, almost all of it. And we're going to try and see about taking care of the rest of it. But what that means is all those collections need to be removed from the library. This is a pretty big undertaking. This isn't, you know, a couple of our buddies with a box of pizza and a 6-pack of beer to get it done. This is, you know, this real organization, has to be, and the collections will be held separately. So one of the things, you know, people immediately start calling the library is we will still be offering library services when the main branch is closed. It'll be done through the spinning library. How this is all coming to, how they'll all be put together is still a work in progress, as is the timeline of when this will actually be implemented. We're procuring for the carpets and for other things. One of the biggest things too is when this will occur. It's not in the next week or two. It's when we can get this all organized and put together, get contractors. If any of you have been trying to get a hold of a contractor lately and think they're coming the next day, that's not happening. So, so to settle a couple things, Mr. Ted Reinstein of Chronicle fame, and perhaps I butchered his name, will still be at the main library branch, on Thursday, March 30th at 7 p.m. And one of the highlights of everybody's year, the Peeps diorama contest, that is still going on. That has not been canceled. So, you know, none of that's been stopped. The main thing is right now what we're trying to do is get all the information together to organize it. Also let the trustees obviously know what's going on and get everybody so that we're on the same path moving forward. This could take 4 to 6 weeks. That library, we've just done the regular roof portion, the flat roofs to be done. The other things, something that'll be brought up later on at town meeting, the HVAC system needs to be done. If you look at that window, which has become sort of the you know, the symbol of the library foundation, I believe, and such, you look at it, that has been leaking like a sieve, and we're trying to fix that and take care of it. There is a lot of work that needs to be done in that building. So while we're down and out of services, we're going to try and get as much done as possible. So obviously the Spinney is a much smaller branch, and we realize there'll be an impact. So I know that the library director, Mr. Marshall, has been doing a great job putting together a plan to make it so that everything we have is usable for our residents. It will be a change. It will not be as big, obviously, or as many amenities, but there will still be services. And that's why I wanted everybody to know.
Great, thank you. Anything else?
No, that's
Okay.
I snuck my dessert during the meal too. So
Okay.
Great.
I just want to follow up on what Mr. Sullivan was saying. The Friends book sale is going to be this weekend, and that's it's the first one for the year. So all of you like me who love to go and paw through the books and get you reading for a couple of weeks is being set up tomorrow, and then it will be available this weekend. Let's see. Liaison initiative and board comments. Mr. Slavin.
Okay. Had several meetings this past week. The Serpent MPO, which does the transportation programs, authorizing, road construction work. The Swift Speeds project is still pushed back to 2025. I'm still working on it, but as of the meeting today, it's still in 2025 now, which means that starts sometime from July 1st of 2024 until June of 2025. MSBA and stuff, issues, but basically the Mass Selectmen Board Association had their breakfast meeting on, I think it was on Friday. What they brought out also was a list of all the different warrant articles that are at the State House for their supporting. Some of the ones I was also involved trying to get done as well. I've basically forwarded to all the different committees and people that should be involved looking at this. And if the newspaper is interested, we can forward them the list. It has to do with financial affairs, energy and environment, municipal and regional administration, personnel and labor relations, and transportation and public works. I will mention one, all these particular bills that have been filed, there's no guarantee they get passed during the year. But the first one, which has great significance to Wareham, if it was to happen, and I repeat the word if, is an act creating a municipal and public safety building authority. It's sponsored by Representative Blaze and Representative Comerford. It establishes, I want to make sure I read it correctly, a new independent state authority to assist municipalities with construction of or improvements to public safety or municipal buildings and facilities that could assist us with our police station. Again, I can't guarantee it. We're lobbying for it, and we'll see that happens. But there's a lot of other articles in here that have significant effect to the town and to the town administration. So if the newspaper would like, contact me and I'll forward them the whole list, and the public can see it as well that way. Thank you.
That's it, sir?
I'll try to keep it tight tonight.
Wow. I think I have to have Ms. Wertz note in the minutes that you restricted yourself to 2 minutes. Mr. Chadwick.
Nothing.
Okay, Ms. Wertz.
I'm fine.
Okay, I just want to remind everyone that on Thursday, the 30th of this month, Showcase Wareham is being held in the Town Hall Auditorium. It is a presentation by the Wareham Redevelopment Authority. It will have 3 musical acts there, and we are hoping that we've invited 135 small businesses from the town of Wareham, which includes this village of Onset. We already have, I think it's something like 18 small businesses and entities signed up to do presentations. It is a showcase. So if you have a restaurant or a bricks and mortar business, we encourage you to come and tell the community what it is that you do and how they can get in touch with you. And the other thing is, this goes back a really long time. See, I was the captain of my girls' school, high school basketball team. And I'm so old that I played half-court basketball because Title IX had not been passed yet. And so women were not allowed to play, as they do today. We had forwards and we had defense and we had a rover. And the rover was the only person who could play on both ends of the court. I was the rover. Anyway, the gentlemen on the basketball team absolutely are gentlemen, and they have served the town very well. They behaved beautifully, and their coaches are thrilled for them. We're thrilled for them. We will be making a presentation to them shortly. We have gotten some certificates. I've already been in touch with Stevie Fannell, and we will hope to have a presentation like we've done for other teams that have done such neat things for the town. So guys, thank you so much for what you have done for Wareham, and I hope you had a good time. I'm pretty sure you did. Is there any other business to come before this meeting? Slavin, my dear,
Motion to adjourn.
not debatable. May I have a second.
Second,
Motion made and seconded. It is not debatable. I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Miss Wertz, you're muted. Yes. Myself, yes. I really almost hate to ask Mr. Chadwick. Mr. Chadwick?
no.
No lunch.
Good night, everyone.
No dessert for you, Mr. Chadwick.
No lunch at Upper Tech anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Good night, Wareham. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Good night.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone.
Good night.